This is Spilled Ink.
Probably the furthest outside my comfort zone as a young artist I was pushed. There was a really cool guy. He was a rapper from LA, and he wanted Jesus tattooed on his torso. And he wanted Jesus to look like Bob Marley. And he wanted it really realistic.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Spilled Ink. I'm Mike Maldonado. I'm here with Laura Bochet. She's been a tattoo artist for the past 5 years, and she is originally from Buffalo, but she is tattooing out of Bushwick as we speak. What's the name of your shop?
It's Secret Fire Tattoo.
Secret Fire.
Like a
I'm
secret.
sorry.
Yes.
Secret. I was actually looking at your work, and I really like it. I just want to know how you got into tattooing, because I see that it's a lot of very visual art that you draw from. So why don't you tell me how you got started?
Yeah, I was actually, I focused on painting for most of my life. So before I began tattooing, I was predominantly painting kind of surreal, like figurative oil paintings.
Okay.
And I was really lucky to be able to support myself with that. But I had always had tattooing in the back of my mind, and I really appreciated it as an art form. And I had been collecting myself already, as soon as I could. Since I was 18, I just went for all the worst tattoos I could get. And I was at a point where I was kind of questioning, my painting work, and is it really something I wanted to do for money? Mm-hmm. And it just happened to be the right moment. I was offered a tattoo apprenticeship, and I think all of the focus I've spent on painting and watching the way paint moves, that really affected the way that I tattoo. Very cool.
In Buffalo, was there a lot of museums that you visited where you drew from that surrealism?
Yeah, to be honest, Buffalo's pretty small. Mm-hmm. You'll see. It's kind of, there's some museums, and there's really nice support for artists there. But I mean, for me, I started drawing like at a really, really young age. My mom and my grandmother are both artists. And I realized pretty quickly that I received a lot of attention if I drew pictures. Okay. And I think that I was just ahead of the other kids just because I did it so much. And then I was just the focus of...
You were a ham.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. I think that, just as a kid, just being praised for it. And then it became, it evolved into something just really necessary, just became therapeutic, my outlet. It's like an angsty teenager. Yeah, I just always did it. I think my parents probably kicked themselves, They don't really love tattoos. And I think it was a difficult thing for them to, get over, even me pursuing a life as a painter. But I think it just is something I always did. And of course, I went to college in Buffalo. So I did go to the museums we had there, and I was influenced by my peers.
Was there any point you remember where you're like, I want a tattoo? And that was like the turning point almost?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what's funny? Like when I was little, my parents, they weren't the kind of parents that just, bought me things. They would say, okay, we think that this is something that... The thing I remember when I look back, I think, okay, yeah, it makes sense. I'm a tattoo artist. Is I wanted a Doodle bear so badly, which is this little teddy bear that comes with markers and you draw on the bear. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. My parents like, no. And so what I did, I went out and I set up a little stand on the corner and I did face painting because I was a good artist. And then, because I lived in kind of a quiet neighborhood, right, I had to step it up. And so I did door-to-door face painting. I, as a kid, knocked on all my neighbors' doors asking if I can paint, like mostly their adult faces. Right. So I think about this, like I liked drawing on people. I think even, as a kid, like I was in like the age where, those gel pens. I don't know how old you are, but I don't know if that was even a thing here. But in Buffalo, like we loved those gel pens.
Mm-hmm. We used to do like the scratch arts on the
okay.
There's like a chalkboard.
Yeah, those are cool too.
And like rainbows underneath.
Right. Yeah, same kind of thing. But I would take the gel pens and I drew on all my friends. I think I wasn't, at the time connecting it to tattoos, but I still like doodling on people.
Well, that's still really brave going door to door asking people to draw on their faces.
I know. I have to remember that. Like, I gotta harness that still.
So what was your apprenticeship like? You mentioned that you were asked to be an apprentice.
Yeah.
Did an artist just like your work and they approached you? What was that story like?
I can thank Instagram for that, actually. I was posting my paintings online, and it was actually pretty crazy that I could sell them on Instagram occasionally. And I was approached by a guy that he moved here from California, and he was just tattooing by himself in a small shop in Manhattan. And he made it really appealing. I had been considering it in the back of my head, but I never, really had that push to go out and, market myself to tattoo artists and ask for an apprenticeship. I just kept painting, and he made it pretty appealing that he was allowing me to be flexible. I was still able to finish my painting commissions and just kind of come in when I could. And it seemed like a good situation. So I thought I had nothing really to lose.
That's actually a really lucky way to go about it, because a lot of people, they bang on a lot of doors.
Right, I know.
They get turned down.
I know, I do. I was lucky in that sense.
That's the beauty of social media, though.
I know, it's really, it's scary. Mm-hmm. I have a lot to be thankful for, but it's such a weird thing to me still.
So how long did you apprentice for?
It's hard to say. It wasn't that long, actually. I mean, I stayed at that shop for 3 years. I'm not very good with time, but the apprenticeship itself is pretty fast. I mean, I had already, had a good handle on rendering just from, a lifetime of studying, the painting work I had done. So it was just, learning about the tattoo machine. And I think a lot of, the cleanliness stuff came pretty naturally. I'm like a little bit naturally neurotic. So when it comes to that stuff, so cross-contamination was, I'm already that person with the hand sanitizer.
I feel like painters too have an easier time transitioning because it's a lot of layering and it's very similar to the technique of painting.
And you could see that. And I was learning at the time where watercolor tattoos were becoming popular. So for me, it was much more difficult to get a handle on line work. This just wasn't how my hand as a painter was trained. So doing color work and shading and things that were, kind of fluid, that wasn't too difficult. And people were excited to get tattoos like that at that moment. So I didn't even plan on doing tattoos that necessarily were watercolor. It just happened, and it was where my strength lied.
I think it's a good blending of styles too, because you have that abstract mixed with the watercolor, which is very appealing, especially in the area that you're in, that area of Brooklyn, where it's a lot of minimalism and it's a lot of fine line work.
Right. Yeah.
I think you blend that really well, which kind of offers something a little unique, because a lot of artists do a lot of the same stuff in Bushwick or Williamsburg.
Right. Yeah, I try not to look at anybody's work. I kind of naturally am someone who's like a little bit more reserved, and there are so many amazing artists, and I don't want even subconsciously to be affected by somebody else. But I think that my style has evolved where now, I focus a lot on the linear aspects of it, trying to do just selective color with, that has more of an impact instead of just pure color. But my line work, it's still organic. Like, I'm not the person you want to go to for anything sacred geometry or even your name. My handwriting's terrible. So I am not somebody who you want to get any text from. And I like really organic tattoos. I don't know if I would call my current work watercolor. I think that has kind of become like a blanket term for anything that's more fluid outside of the lines. But I never painted watercolor, so it's kind of funny. I struggle with watercolor a lot, actually, as a medium.
Really?
Yeah, I always did oil, but I think of tattooing in that style, as you said, there's definitely connections to painting, and especially just understanding how a paint moves. But I see it more like almost like doing a colored pencil drawing of a painting. It's just so it's interesting. But I like just organic. I do a lot of floral nature stuff, things that have roots or kind of abstracted parts, color that's kind of fades in and out. So I think I like that you can kind of just bend it to flow with the body in a nice way, and it can kind of taper off and fade in and out instead of just kind of sitting on top of the skin.
Do you usually just design your pieces first, or do you, obviously you work with the client, but are they your designs and then you post them up and then whoever wants it can get it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both.
How do you go from design to actually tattooing it onto somebody?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I always tell myself that I want to spend more time doing designs for people to choose from. But I'm always kind of slack on that. My books are actually opening, on Wednesday. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do Flash. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's in 2 days. So I do a kind of a mix. I really enjoy creating custom pieces too, but that's challenging, especially because sometimes my work can be a little bit more on the abstract side. So, when I'm sitting down with a client, the way that we both might describe the same thing. We use different words, and it's usually someone I've never met before. So just in a short time, we have to come to, an understanding, and that can be difficult. So I ask people to send me like anything that would help me get to know them better when I'm designing a custom piece, like visual representations of things that they connect with. So that's fun. It's obviously challenging.
I would say so.
Yeah, it's a combination. I think I would like to do more because that's easy. It's clear. They know that they want that piece. They connect with it for whatever reason they do. And there isn't that understanding, it's just, it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination.
I mean, yeah, it's hard dealing with customers who don't understand certain aspects that go into it in the composition or like the body. So it's like hard to explain that. Was there like a culture shock almost coming from Buffalo and having to deal with the typical New Yorker that's not so much upstate?
I don't know. It's hard to remember. I never did any tattooing up there. I left Buffalo, I think I was 22. So it's been 10 years for me now. Wow. So I'm trying to remember. I think maybe when I first moved here, it was a little bit shocking. Just people are pretty direct, and Buffalo, there's a lot of kindness. I think that there's kindness here too, but I think it's just a different pace. People take more time to be kind. We're here.
Everybody's got somewhere to be, something to do.
Yeah, but I tattoo so many people from other places. I don't really, our studio. I opened it with my wife. She's an Italian tattoo artist, and
I should have had to use both in here.
I know. She wanted to come. Yeah, no, she's an amazing artist. Yeah, so our shop, people don't really walk in. Like I said, it's called Secret Fires, so it's kind of a secret. Like you don't really know that it's a tattoo shop. My manager that you spoke with, she's an amazing natural dyer, quilter. So she sews. So people come to the shop and they see her making quilts before they see us tattooing. And they're kind of like, what is this? What do you do here? We don't have a sign or anything. So people, when they come, we're really just by appointment. So it's just people that have found our work and they come to see us. And it's a lot of people that are traveling. Probably half.
Speakeasy.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of weird. So probably half of the people I tattoo are from other places. So I do get the New York experience, but also, we do tattoo people from upstate, sometimes other countries.
What's like the most interesting tattoo that you've done on the most interesting person anywhere in the world, if you can remember?
It's hard.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's hard. I
like to hear people's stories too, coming from all over the world, especially.
Yeah, there was a woman from how do you say that?
Tanzania?
Yeah, Tanzania. She got a tattoo. This was a moment where my wife, her name is Hira Lupe. Hira and I worked on a piece together. Since she was from so far away, she was pretty ambitious. We did a piece, two like matching pieces on her calves where Hira does really beautiful black work. It happens sometimes where she does the linear portion of the tattoo and I add color. And so that's what was happening where we did tattoos where Hira did the line work and I was coloring. So as she was doing, she did the line work on one calf, I colored it while she was doing the line work on the other half. So it was a really long, uncomfortable day for this woman. I think getting tattooed by two, and it was big. I mean, it took up both of the back of her calves, but she was really strong. And that was probably the furthest someone came to get tattooed. And that was, I think the first time I did a collaboration with Hira. So that was pretty interesting.
Is her style mostly geometric work? Your wife?
No, it's like hers is still, she can do geometric stuff. I mean, she has a very steady hand. She does some that looks like etching. She's getting into things that look a little bit more Japanese, kind of folky. Like they're dark and like they're magical a little bit. Like there's just something, they're not, like even if she just does say something botanical, like it's just, there's something more than just, it's not just a flower, there's something dark. She gives her work a depth that I just don't really know how to describe her. Like a particular style. Yeah, she's very cool. Maybe next season.
That's cool. Actually, I'm opening my own shop soon too with my wife.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I actually love to hear people when they first started their own thing, because you said you tattooed for a little bit under somebody, and then you met your wife, and then you both opened this together. How did that happen? Were you both tattooing together and then you decided to open it up? Or
Yeah, so Hira came to America and worked at the shop that I was learning to tattoo at. So we met as co-workers, and then we became friends, and then became romantically involved. And the experience that we had at that first shop that I learned, it didn't turn out to be great. The guy that I worked with, I'm so thankful, that I was able to learn to tattoo from him. And I met my wife at that shop and met other great artists, but it just became like not so great, which unfortunately, it seems to be kind of a common story. And I think that we really bonded, over that experience at that shop. And I think
trauma.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. We had totally different kinds of trauma from it. But I think that I learned a lot. And I think that it just really drove us to create a space that was comfortable for everybody, for our clients, because, we found ourselves, the shop owner, it kind of became an obstacle in our day for us to make our clients comfortable to tattoo. It just was kind of like it would just be so nice to just be able to just tattoo and not have to deal with somebody who's kind of unstable and have to, it was his space. He was in control, to some extent. And I could make my clients as comfortable as I could. But then when somebody comes in and starts having an insensitive conversation or, something that kind of borderlines on harassment of me and my clients sometimes. Like it's just how
it's tough having that tension in the room.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to make someone as comfortable as possible.
It's already kind of, an anxious moment for people. Right. And on top of that, to have somebody who's behaving poorly. So I think that really was what drove us. We learned from that. We worked at another shop together after that one, and it was a better experience, but there's still clear that it just wasn't a representation of us and the kind of work, the kind of space that we'd like to create. So, it just got to the point where we felt like we've learned enough. We're really lucky to have the following that we have, people that were supportive of us opening our little space. We met Danielle at the last shop that we worked at together. And it just happened. Everything just was so easy, which really felt like it was the right moment. Everything just fell into place.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate when you have to work in an environment like that. I had a similar story too with me and my brother, with the person before we opened our shop. The ego that runs rampant in this business just comes out, and obviously chauvinistic ways. And this guy was he was a douche, excuse me.
No, sorry to hear that.
But yeah, it's almost like it's a similar thing, because I grew up with a certain respect for people, especially in the neighborhood that I grew up in. He wasn't from my neighborhood, and like these were my friends and like family who would come in, and it was just one of those things where you're just like, how did you get this far?
I know.
I know how to act.
I know, but that's kind of what I realized when I was there, that that shop, the first one where I learned, I realized that it really felt like, okay, this is somebody who opened a shop, not because, he was just kind of the reasons that we're talking about. It really felt like this is somebody that nobody can really work with this guy. So he kind of had to create his own space because I don't think he's not, I can't really picture him, succeeding in like a healthy environment. So he kind of had to create his own kind of...
Listen, your art could only take you so far. A lot of people come for the experience and how you make them feel. They won't remember everything you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah,
at the end of the
so
day.
important.
There's a lot of that in our business, unfortunately. But, like you said, you try and just do your own thing, put your head down, do good work, and then people will come back to you. They appreciate that. Yeah. And from your following, I could see that people do appreciate that.
It's pretty nice because I have clients that, have been getting tattooed by Hira or I, from the beginning. So they saw us throughout all of these stages. It's 5 years, but it seems like much longer than that. So much has happened. But, they've seen us, as individual artists, how we've grown, us as a couple. And to have these people, you probably find something similar when you open your shop, especially with your wife. It feels like people are now, like they're coming into our home. It's just the two of us and the occasional guest artist. And, we created the space in a way that feels like us. A lot of times our dogs are in the shop, for better or worse. And, it's like our home. And we treat people like that, that they're, like you said, they're part of your family. They really, the way that we connect in that moment, it is important because it's true. That is something, like for us as artists, we see all of these people, and we connect with them and very much in the moment with them. And I love hearing people's stories. And, but for people getting tattooed, they look at that piece and like they just have that one moment with you that, or if they come back for multiple tattoos more, but they look at it and they can feel the space that you created, the conversation, the way that you touch them, the way you talk to them, the way that you listen to their ideas. It's just, there's so much that goes into it. So I think it's really important, the space that you create.
Of course. And that's what will make people successful, is that experience. And that's really all people want at the end of the day. They don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable. But you sound like you like to avoid drama, which I respect.
Yeah.
But sometimes it finds you no matter what. So was there any story from, not necessarily from your old shop, but something you had to deal with when you were first starting out?
The way that I am, I'm pretty stubborn. And I'm not afraid to say no. From the very beginning, if there's somebody that I don't feel like I can understand them or that we're connecting with, or if I just feel uncomfortable for any reason, I say, what, this is just, I'm sorry, I just don't think I'm the right artist for you. There's so many wonderful artists in this city, and I don't think we're a good fit. And I say, it's better just not to do this tattoo. So I have had drama as a result of that, me expressing that to them. Then people say that they try to convince me after that. And I just think it's better if I don't feel completely comfortable, that I just not to do it or to postpone it. But I guess before I was able to say no, it just was the very, very beginning where that guy that I worked with, he was kind of just screening the work that I was getting. And he, was somebody, I mentioned that my apprenticeship was pretty brief. And I think that was partially due to the fact that he just wanted to make money. He wanted to get things going. People wanted to get tattooed by me, because people, especially that had been following my paintings and had the idea that I'd be able to tattoo just like I painted right away, which is not the case. But yeah, so he said yes to some things that I just would never do. I didn't feel comfortable completely, and I did my best. And luckily, everything was okay. But I think probably the furthest outside my comfort zone as a young artist I was pushed was, there was a really cool guy. He was a rapper from LA, and he wanted Jesus tattooed on his torso. And to tattoo someone's stomach is a difficult experience. Chest and
painful.
stomach, it's painful, and it's soft, and it's not a spot that loves to be tattooed.
Yep.
So he wanted Jesus tattooed, and he already had a huge cross on his chest, so even the placement was difficult. And he wanted Jesus to look like Bob Marley. And, for me, and he wanted it really realistic. And, so I needed
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, to some people he might be. And, it's beautiful, the idea and the image. But, I'm not very religious, so I haven't spent a lot of time looking at representations of Jesus, and there weren't a lot that looked like Bob Marley. So it was kind of cool to get to create something different. But yeah, so it happened that, that guy that I worked with, he was tattooing this beautiful man that day. And he had a beard and just a beautiful black man. And I said, can I take your picture? And I used him. Yeah, and I made him Jesus. So this guy came in and I tattooed that beautiful client on his stomach. And it was hard because, it took me, as a young artist, you tattoo a little slower, and especially somebody's stomach, and it's a painful spot. So that poor guy, I mean, he took it. We spent a lot of time together making that Jesus. And, what was funny is that guy, he came into the shop, the guy who I referenced, and, he asked for that picture I drew, and he gave it to his mother. Made his mom very happy to see him looking like Jesus. But yeah, this guy in LA has this other guy in New York tattooed on his stomach.
So funny.
Which is kind of funny.
How long did it end up taking you?
I don't know, too long. Because I got my stomach tattooed not too long ago, and it was terrible. And I thought about that poor guy and everybody else I tattooed on their stomach. Oh, man, it sucks.
There are very few areas that I don't ever want to get tattooed. One is the sternum. The other is like the throat area.
That's not too bad.
No?
No. Maybe for men. More like when I got my
throat. I have a huge Adam's apple.
Yeah, so. That part.
I mean, you got to stretch it the other way. But still.
Yeah. I think it's more the idea.
Yeah.
Like it's not painful, the spots.
Really?
Yeah. I think your sternum, I mean, for me, it wasn't. My sternum was, my stomach was torture. So that poor man. Yeah. Really bad.
That's great, though. I think we might be wrapping it up soon, but who are you following right now that you follow consistently? Who's changing the game for you?
Oh, that's hard. It's really hard. There's so many great artists that but again, I said, I don't really like to look too closely. I mean, one artist I really admire, his name is Nick, and he's from Greece. His tattoo is Nick Avage, I think you pronounce. He was also a painter, and it's just really cool because, the way that his tattoo work was translated, it's really dark. He does faces and things that are kind of distorted. And I love his work. I think it's really, really cool because it's like, again, I talk about this depth that my wife's work had. That's something I'm really attracted to. I like dark, deep tattoos that have kind of a somberness to them, and his has that, but it feels like, there's connections to nature. It's mostly just black and red, where they look like demons sometimes, but they're beautiful. And he tattooed me, and the way that he just puts so much attention to detail. I mean, it's a very clean tattooer without being overdone, which was something, it scared me. Even though I'm a portrait painter, I don't attempt them as tattoos. I mostly do.
Really? Yeah,
my painting work is much different than my tattoo work. I do much more realistic paintings. It's just cool to see his are also, pretty realistic, and to see how he translated, that into portrait tattoo work is very, very cool.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I follow this girl from Russia. Her name is Val Tatbu. And she does a lot of like photorealism painting. She has like seminars of how to go about transitioning from painting portraits to tattooing portraits. Cool.
I would have loved that a few years ago.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I feel bad because a lot of people get a lot of shit for putting out how they do things because it's not following the traditional way that we were talking about before. A lot of ego involved and stuff like that. But if it makes you better, it makes you better.
Right.
The information's out there. where in 2020 you could rebuild a car using YouTube.
Exactly.
I don't understand why people get so much shit for it.
Yeah, we should also just be raising each other up. I mean, we all want to do good tattoos. I mean, it's in everyone's best interest. And I think there's enough people wanting to get tattoos to go around.
Yeah,
If you
I
do
agree.
something original and, heartfelt, people respond well, generally, I think. Don't need to be competitive.
It's true. A lot of people get really, for lack of a better term, butthurt about
It is, yeah. I say butthurt too, yeah. They do
But
get butthurt.
They do. And like you said, it's not like the old school way where a tattoo shop opened up down the block and you got to go break their windows because they're taking food out of your mouth. Like
Right.
there's enough people today, there's enough to go around that, like you said, you should be raising people up. Like people work hard. Like this isn't an easy thing to do. And especially the people who teach themselves how to do it, I feel like should have a greater respect for the people who apprenticed under somebody for 2 years and they never touched a machine. I mean, I understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
But it's so much harder to like teach yourself. And we're in America, like people value work.
Right.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think that there's positives to each approach. But, I think if you can get yourself there, then, whether it was a 2-year apprenticeship where you didn't touch a machine, you're just cleaning, and that got you to where you needed to be, or you just, taught yourself and scribbled all over your legs, your friends, and and you're able to get to a good place that way. I think that's fine. It's just, important that you got there.
Yeah, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you don't want people to do it the wrong way, but if you could teach them, I mean, I don't know if you ever plan on taking on an apprentice at all. Probably not. If you have like something good going on.
I know people ask sometimes, but I think because I really just do, my style, which is kind of different. I don't know if I would be qualified to teach someone. I just know what I do. There's just so many different styles out there that, my work is just kind of abstract a lot of times, organic, and I don't know if I would be the best teacher unless they just were looking to do something as specific as that.
I mean, it's tough too because it's your reputation that you put out there as well.
Yeah.
But I believe that you should have some skin in the game and pay your dues and all that stuff. So I'm traditional in that way. But if someone wants to learn, you shouldn't discourage them.
No.
Like, not at all. But you get that. Getting back to your shop, what's booking like for you? A lot of guys automate what they do. Do you take walk-ins?
Yeah, we don't do any walk-ins. So what we do is we generally just open our books like every couple of months. We take requests, book for 3 months at a time, and then close our books. So we, like I said, we have our amazing manager, Danielle, who quilts when our books aren't open. And then she just works nonstop once we open our books. But yeah, we have like a request form online that just kind of streamlines that process for Danielle, where she just makes people kind of give the information we need right off the bat. Yeah, and I review projects. Yeah, I go through with her and I review them. Again, like I am pretty selective. I don't do anything that I'm not 100% comfortable with. I'd rather somebody else do it and they get the tattoo that they really want than trying to convince them to do it in my style or the way I think it should be done. Yeah, we book that way. And then I like to do consultations if I have any questions. And I don't meet with everyone just because it's a lot of time. Yeah, it's a lot of time. But I do like, because I do all of my designs, my custom designs the day of the appointment. So I like to create the design together. So I'm not guessing about anything. It flows with their body better that way. It's really just created for them. I can get a feeling from them by talking with them, and so yeah, that's pretty much our booking process.
I like to touch on too a little bit because I want this podcast to be not only for like artists listening to it, but I want it to be for clients too. So what can you recommend clients do in order to make the process of booking with you or coming to you a little bit more smoothly? Like, what's the perfect client for you?
Someone who is, clear on what they would like to get, or even if it's just clear on the fact that they just want me to just create something for them. But yeah, someone who doesn't have expectations, that are unrealistic and are willing to also listen to the things that I've learned about tattooing after seeing them heal. Yeah, it's just yes, that can be really difficult because people sometimes will just look at things online that may not even be actual tattoos or ones that were photoshopped, and it just like, it's not possible to fit all this detail into something that's like 2 inches.
I have this conversation all the time.
Or something, that's like, I don't know. There's all different ways that can be hard, and also someone that is aware of their own limits. Sometimes people say, like, oh, I want this huge rib tattoo. Yeah, I have a really high pain threshold, and I want to sit all day. I can sit for 6 hours on my ribs. And I'm always like, are you sure? Because that's not a fun day. And they're like, no, yeah, I can do it. And then we get there and like I just start like, no, the regret sinks in. Yeah, so I think somebody who, like that, who's flexible, but also, knows what they want, knows what they're getting into.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
That's why I think educating clients is the best thing, because it just gets rid of a lot of roadblocks right off the bat. And you'd be surprised, like a lot of people still make the same. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised, you deal with it. They make the same mistakes over and over again. But, that's the nature of the business. And you kind of take them as they come and try and give them the best tattoo that you could possibly give them, because at the end of the day, that's what you're there for.
Right.
So is there anything that you're working on right now that you'd want people to know about or want to promote? I'd actually like to know more about your painting.
Yeah, I am trying to get back into my painting a little bit more. The past couple of years, as I was trying to strengthen myself as a tattoo artist, and then, we opened our shop a year and a half ago. So, I was really focused on that I haven't been painting as much. And I do miss it. And I think when I paint more, that feeds my tattoo work. So I would like to paint a little bit more and bring some of my painting style into my tattoos a little bit more, which I think would be fun. And I have my paintings hanging in the shop and people respond well to them. So I think it would be a fun thing to do.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of Spilled Ink. I have Laura Bochet here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You could find her at Laura Bochet _tattoo.
Yes.
On Instagram.
I think that's right.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. That concludes this week's episode with Laura Bochet. You can find her on Instagram at Laura Bochet _tattoo, or visit her website at www.secretfiretattoo.com. Join us next week when we sit down in studio with Dimitri Verona, aka Mr. Verona, and we talk about how he sought political asylum to the U.S. from a war-torn Ukraine. Like, how did you get the balls to come to New York and like make your way?
Political asylum. I don't know if you heard about that war between Ukraine and Russia, which is happening right now. I came here. I figured that if it's gonna work out, it's awesome. If not, I can always come back.
And the branding efforts he leverages on social media for himself and his upcoming artists.
That's the only reason I have my studio, which doesn't take walk-ins, and my apprentices even are busy right now because of the social media. If you know how to do it right, everything is going to be okay. And if you know how to do social media, you can even sell snow to the homeless guy.
Spilled Ink is produced by Fulton Street Music Group. Our producers are Kleio Kolitsopoulos and Alex Fulton. Our music is by Cat Blaster. I'm your host, Mike Maldonado. Follow us on Instagram at Spilled Ink Official.